Welcome to another edition of the Dogger Pass podcast. This for UFC 272. It's a grudge match. Colby Covington taking on his old buddy, his old pal, Jorge Masvidal. My buddy, my pal, Cody Saftic, is on the line. I owe you something. From last week's show. You know, little bit of a squeaky decision there. But I will admit that, like, Gregory Rodriguez minus 165, that situation. I do think it was a close enough fight that it's like the value is probably on the dog. If those guys fight 10 times, it's probably close to 50-50, maybe 60-40. Either way, minus 165, it still wouldn't have been value. So, you know, it was a great week. Great week for you, great week for me. We're on a bit of a heater here. So this beer is going to taste like champagne.
Yeah, well earned, my friend. You're right. We've quietly gone 3 good weeks in a row now, and then last week especially hitting just a whole block worth of parlays. Yeah, it's been a good roll. UFC 272, as pretty as it is, it's the don't give the money back card. Because the last few weeks, man, you and I sit here, we talk about how much grief the card's getting, and people don't like these no-name guys and blah, blah, blah. But the cards they're easy to cap, man. You know, there's an A side, B side. Someone's an actual prospect. Someone's fighting for their contract, right? It's a little more straightforward. This card here, I'll straight up admit, a lot of sticky spots. So I think the focus this week is to not give back the bookie your money. But at the same time, let's just focus in the 4 or 5 that you really like and maybe leave off some of those greasy ones. But anyways, I'm happy to be glad to be joined by you because this is part of my fight week ritual. Sit down with my boy Paul Shaughnessy and hash out our final picks, see who we like and who we don't.
I'm waiting for the camera to get on me so I can get to business here.
Oh, there goes the business. Paul's actually done quite a few shoeys, as have I. I haven't gotten any better at it. Could do it. I don't know that my technique's gotten any better. But as you see, Paul just slammed that bad boy.
That was easy.
He's gotten, he must do it in his off time. I bet you Paul's been known to break it out at a party once in a while.
Well, don't get me on tree planting stories, but back in my tree planting days, I used to be really good at, what the hell is it called? Shotguns. Where you get a knife and do it at the bottom. Was quite prolific at that. And those skills basically just transfer over. Not very good at drinking out of a bottle. Much more difficult in my opinion. Anyway, let's get to the fights here. We've got Colby Covington taking on Jorge Gamebred Masvidal. Minus 320 Covington, plus 250 for Masvidal. I mean, these guys obviously train together. They're going to know each other very, very well. Colby has obviously left. He was kicked out of the gym for being mean to other people, yada, yada, yada. Narratives, all that type of stuff aside. I think we're dealing with one person who, you know, is an actual elite fighter. Him versus Usman. Colby Covington versus Usman. Both times was like the highest level of 170-pound welterweight fighting that we've ever seen. Obviously, the second time around for Covington was pretty close. Like, a lot of people scored it for Covington. I just think his pace, his wrestling, his ability to take damage, which he has shown in the Usman fights as well. I think he pays off this price in full. I've already parlayed him up with Kevin Holland a little bit further down the card. And I have Colby Covington round 5 at plus 3,000. Because that's kind of how I see this fight playing out. A lot of, maybe early on, he's not able to take him down. It'll be a lot of cage control. But eventually, the cardio king will prevail. Colby Covington, either late or by decision. What about you?
Yeah, I got the same opinions of it. I think Colby Covington is one of the premier mixed martial artists on the planet at 170 pounds, one of the better guys. Just people don't seem to like him. Like, that's the big thing. Jorge Masvidal, meanwhile, he's got 15 pro losses. He's a journeyman. But he's likable, right? So you got one guy that's he's the fan favorite. He's the baby face, and he's just really not all that good. The other guy is a premier talent, but he's a heel, and he takes a lot of grief, and people just want to bet against him. They want to see Masvidal run across the cage and smash this guy in the face with a flying knee. And although it's possible, I just don't see it being that likely. I always said Colby Covington was the best 170-pound fighter on the planet. till he fought Kamaru Usman the first time, and Kamaru Usman defeated him. And I said right then and there, Kamaru Usman is the greatest welterweight on the planet. Colby takes a seat in the back seat. George is retired. Let's be honest here. Colby is that number 2 guy. When they fought the second time, I have now moved over to team Kamaru Usman. I think he's the best on the planet. Colby gave him everything he could handle. If not for Usman being born and being on this planet, Colby is your welterweight champion. He's on a long streak. He's on a long run. He's a supreme talent. It's just people don't like him. That's the one rap against him. Now, obviously, it's been talked about a zillion times over by this point. They're former friends. They're former training partners, yada, yada, yada. So if you watch back those like Tale of the Grind, right, like the Miami Hustle videos from back in the day, largely focused on George Masvidal, and Colby Covington's just getting into mixed martial arts. He wrestled at the University of Oregon. ATT's brought him in, specifically Dan Lambert, is giving him a stipend every week, like money to live and just train and fight. And he's just getting going. Now, even though George is only 3 years older than Colby, when Colby made his professional debut, George was already 22-6 in fighting Gilbert Melendez for the Strikeforce Lightweight Championship of the world, right? So he's already had a long, lengthy career. He kind of mentors Colby. And in those early days, and you see it in the video, no doubt George Masvidal is beating up Colby Covington standing. But Colby beats him in the wrestling every time. And there's these really interesting exchanges where they're in the car and they're going back and forth, and it's alpha male type stuff where you're kind of razzing each other back and forth. And Masvidal will be like, dude, I stuffed like 3 or 4 of your takedowns. And Colby's like, yeah, but I got you down on the 5th one. And then he'd be like, yeah, but I stuffed the first 4. And Colby's like, yeah, but I was breaking you. And the way Colby says it, you know what's happening in the room. Because that's how Colby wrestles. He's one of these chain wrestlers. He's one of these pressure guys. He's one of these guys that might not get the first one, but he keep wearing on you. And that's Masvidal's issue, is that Masvidal doesn't historically have good takedown defense. His career number is 75%, but he's given up the 7 takedowns to Usman, no big deal. Okay, let's talk about he got taken down by Darren Till. Let's talk about the 4 takedowns against Damian Maia. By the way, 1-1 going into the 3rd of the Damian Maia fight, everything's on the line. Maia just takes him out. Gas just takes him out and lies on top of him. Takedown defense, not good. He gave up 2 takedowns to Ross Pearson. What? He gave up a takedown to Lorenz Larkin, strictly a stand-up guy. Cesar Ferreira, I don't really know what he's all that good at. He gave up 2 takedowns to Darren Cruikshank, who's currently fighting at 145 pounds and largely known for his striking credentials. Masvidal is not at that level. He wasn't at that level then when he was in the prime of his career and Colby was one-dimensional, and he's not at that level now where Colby's one of the best guys on the planet. So is the line a little wide? It's MMA, and one dude throws flying knees. But I think it's fairly accurate, and I am definitely Team Colby Covington on this one. So when I mentioned there's a lot of sticky spots in this card, and I want to focus in on what I like, this I like.
I like it as well. And it's on the move. It's starting to move up to the 400s. It's going to be 400 by fight time. There is a contingent of like Twitter and the world, or even people not on Twitter, that are betting Masvidal because they just love, the street Jesus gimmick and all of that type of stuff. Like, there's always... Masvidal's lines are always kind of trash, to be perfectly honest. Like, there's a contingent of people that are not very sharp who bet him against Leon Edwards. They bet him, or I guess he didn't fight Leon Edwards. But yeah, they were betting him against Usman. He kind of did, but that, there was no lines set for that one. But yeah, against Usman, there were people backing him, and like, what I think like against Usman was like minus like 400 or minus 300 against him at one point, like insane.
Well, can I add this as well, is that you might be able to get a better line betting in after the second round, because Masvidal, of course, he's live in the first 2, and he'll be competitive in the first 2. The reason Colby will end up being victorious is the grind, is the pressure, is the pace. But the early rounds will be competitive, and it'll make it look like, well, this isn't a 3-1 Colby Covington type fight. That's when it's the best chance to hit it. If you look at Masvidal's wins, just of recent wins, these are not that recent. Jake Ellenberg is a first-round knockout. Donald Cerrone, second-round knockout. Darren Till, second-round knockout. Ben Askren, a 5-second knockout. Nate Diaz is a third-round doctor stoppage, but he just had his way the entire, like, it was just him hitting a punching bag, right? So, of course, he could hit a punching bag for 15 minutes. There's no resistance. The fights that he's losing, right, are all the fights that the Stephen Thompson fight, the Damian Maia fight, both Kamaru Usman fights. They get outside of those first 2 rounds, and that's where he'll take over. So, yeah, I'm going to bet Colby Covington. He's going to be top ticket material because it's the main event and this and that. But at the same time, I'm looking to bet this thing live if Masvidal's competitive early, because I got faith that it'll be by the end of the fight, Colby Covington kind of result.
Yeah, rounds 3, 4, and 5. Hopefully he gets the finish in round 5, 30-1.
Hells yeah, did it against Tyron Woodley. Do it again, baby.
Do it again, baby. All right, let's move on. To finish what we were saying before, though, I was just Kamaru Usman was like minus 250 to minus 278. That was the range that you could bet Kamaru Usman the first time that he took on Masvidal, which is insane. All right, we got Rafael dos Anjos taking on Renato Moicano, minus 165. Dos Anjos plus 145 Moicano. This entire fight has just been an absolute train wreck from day one, really. Obviously, RDA was supposed to take on Rafael Fiziev last week, or was it last week?
This week.
He was supposed to take on. He was supposed to main event. That's why this fight is 5 rounds. He was supposed to main event against Fiziev either last week or the week before. I don't know. Losing track of time. But obviously Fiziev pulled out, or something happened with Fiziev. He wasn't able to show up. So then they pushed it over to this card, but they were going to keep it 5 rounds, yada, yada, yada. Fiziev gets COVID this week. He's not able to come over from Thailand over to here. Islam Makhachev and tons of other people, but Islam Makhachev was the main one. Throws his name into the hat, wants to get into the fight. You start wondering if Ali is the person actually running like both RDA and Islam Makhachev's phones, because you know Ali is into that kind of thing, and he manages both of them. So it is what it is. But here we are with Renato Moicano. I was actually almost fully expecting Islam Makhachev to fight him at 170 pounds, get paid twice, go home for Ramadan, reemerge in July, August. If you're Makhachev, it makes sense. You're already here in America. Why not get paid twice? And why not fight a guy that you already have a game plan for? Your buddy, Khabib Nurmagomedov, is in your corner. He knows exactly the type of fight that you have to fight to beat Rafael dos Anjos. So you just pressure, takedown, rinse and repeat. But all for naught, doesn't happen. Congrats to Renato Moicano stepping up and in. Haven't had too much time to think about how this plays out. Did watch Moicano's most recent performance and against Alexander Hernandez. He looked pretty good. Sorry, my phone's ringing. I got a little bit distracted there. He looked solid. He's really good on the feet, and obviously grappling with him, wearing him down. The whole contingent of his game was all the way around. It's really tough because it's on short notice. It's a catch weight of 160 pounds. I was hoping I was going to be able to catch like Moicano at like plus 200-ish, but the line's just not there. For me, it is dog or pass because Renato Moicano has shown really improved wrestling. And then even if you getting ready from a few weeks ago when you look at like him versus in the Qatar fight, it's like our Calvin Kattar fight. His striking looked super solid there. I think he can beat Rafael dos Anjos in all aspects of the game, but I'm kind of scared off just based on the short notice nature of all of this. What's your take here?
Yeah, this is why I don't really particularly enjoy making bets like a week in advance, because coming after last week's card, I put a bunch on Rafael Fiziev, and now the fight's canceled and he's locked in on parlays. And now I'm considering the bet on Rafael dos Anjos as I was coming in. I was going to fade him. So that's just somehow how the matchup plays out. I initially thought like you, Renato Moicano, live underdog, coming on short notice, looked good against Hernandez. So what's there not to like? But let's start off with Rafael dos Anjos. So 37 makes me a little bit worried. Coming off a year-long layoff, like he hasn't fought since the Paul Felder fight, which was 2020. It's November 2020, but still, he's coming off like a 15-month layoff. It's not super inspiring. His grappling match against Donald Cerrone at Submission Underground, he looked super flat in that performance. So it's not like the most riveting of times. I'm not like super pumped up, but he's had the full camp. Got to give him that. But let's just talk about that last fight against Paul Felder, right? We're leaving, I guess, the fight against Michael Chiesa before that he gets right. We'll just talk about Felder, right? It's a 5-round fight. He comes in against Felder. I'm expecting a bit of a striking battle, right? he just pushes a pretty good pace with the grappling. Like, in my opinion, and the fight ended up being a split decision, but I had the first 3 rounds for Rafael dos Anjos. He's mixing up his striking pretty good. Sweet little left hand down the gut, able to land, move him backwards, fires in the takedowns. He's picking up Paul Felder. He's slamming him to the ground. He's having some decent success. Felder's tough. He keeps working his way back up, but he was pretty much able to continue a good pace throughout the course of 25 minutes. And there's another benefit against Rafael dos Anjos that he's fought 25 minutes a bunch of times. So that's all advantageous towards him. Moicano, meanwhile, you go back and you watch the Alexander Hernandez fight again. Starts off, he's doing well. He's standing to the outside. He's using his length. He's chipping away. He's outstriking Alexander Hernandez. And then he shoots in for a takedown of his own, okay? He has double underhooks. He just starts muscling Alexander Hernandez. Hernandez kind of stuffs the first one. Moicano just overcommits, picks him up, slams him right into half guard, or right into side control, right? From side control, he does a little bit of damage on the ground. And then about 2 minutes left in the first round, Hernandez gets back up, and it was like that grappling exchange for 2 minutes zaps him. So you watch the last 2 minutes of that first round, Moicano is tired, and he's moving backwards, and he's not good at striking off of his back foot. And that's kind of what I've noticed in his other fights after that, is that his tendency is when he's moving forward, he's able to use that range. He's able to touch you up. He's got a pretty laser fast right hand. The same thing. He landed on Fiziev a couple good times. But if you get moving forward and press him backwards, he doesn't strike particularly well. Grappling exchanges don't necessarily favor him because they're going to gas him out. He's not – at what point has he fought 25 minutes? Never, right? You don't know that he can. Mm-hmm. You've seen certain fights like the Brian Ortega fight where he was actually up 2 rounds and then gassed out and got finished in the 3rd round. That's kind of been something that's been happening to him. So the 5-round fight, that leans towards Rafael dos Anjos. The experience and the level of competition that he's fought leans towards dos Anjos. Dos Anjos coming in with a clean camp, all of that favors him. When Moicano just fought, I don't think that's necessarily something that's positive, right? Bobby Green had just fought, but like he said after the fight, well, I was banged up, you know, my hand hurt, you know, my leg hurt. You're doing stuff in there. So I don't think that's going well for Moicano. He hasn't been there. He hasn't done that. And last but not least, Renato Moicano used to fight at 145 pounds, right? Struggles to make the weight, so he moves up to 155, and then it's like, he's a good size 55er, but he's not huge. Rafael, meanwhile, moved up to 170, fought all the best welterweights on the planet, and then decided to come back down to 155 pounds. So this catch weight of 160 plays out in his favor, right? He has to cut less weight, and he's a big guy who's fought at welterweight against the best guys on the planet. Whereas Moicano's a featherweight, taking the fight on short notice, giving up an additional 5 pounds, has never fought 25 minutes before, and looked good, but not great against Alexander Hernandez. So he's dog money, and if you want to chalk it up to a dogger pass, I wouldn't fault you. I wouldn't fault you for that whatsoever. But I think I am going to go with RDA in this one.
You know, I'm kind of flipping my pick there as well. That it's just short notice, taking on a guy who is at least his size. Grappling should be negated, I would think, between the two of them. Moicano may be able to take him down, but the fact that it's the 5-round nature of this fight is really, really the key. So I think Rafael dos Anjos is the side. Money keeps kind of pouring in on Moicano on short notice here, though, so might as well just wait. Like, they opened it up around, minus 195 plus 165, and people don't have faith in Rafi dos Nachos. All right, moving on down, we got Bryce Mitchell taking on Edson Jr. Barboza, minus 150 for Mitchell, plus 130 for Barboza. I got caught in the snare trap trying to fade Bryce Mitchell against Andre Fili. I'd seen Andre Fili really, really improve with his offensive wrestling against the likes of Sadiq Youssef, and following that up with Charles Jourdain, we took down 5 times. So I was kind of all piecing it together, being like, I bet you, team alpha male guy, he's training with wrestlers all the time. He's going to be able to stop this guy from coming into his element, enforcing his game plan on him. Rewatched that fight again even this morning. So I took the L on Andre Fili as a underdog in that spot. And Fili had some decent spots at the end of round 2. He had top control. He landed some good punches. He probably stole the round. But man, Bryce Mitchell's just relentless, and Edson Barboza, we've seen this story a million times. It's like if you are willing to pressure forward, get out of kick range, just keep pushing this guy up against the fence, and you're going to find those takedowns. Watch the Amir Khani fight. Amir Khani, if he just changes his strategy, he only went for takedowns at the end of round 1 and at the end of round 2. Round 3, he gets one with like 4 minutes left. He spends most of the time on top. The path to victory is still there. That is going to be the path to victory for Bryce Mitchell. Nobody's arguing what happens if these guys just hang out in kickboxing range. Like, he's going to get absolutely lit up by Edson Barboza. But I think Bryce Mitchell has the exact template, the exact style that causes Barboza problems historically. So I think Bryce is the rightful favorite here. What about you?
Yeah, this is one of those sticky fights where I don't know. I really don't know, because you can play it 100 times in your head and there's different outcomes every time. Absolutely, Bryce Mitchell, very strong. Listen, the thing with being from Arkansas, the thing with being from one of these tough states is farm boy strength, man. My God, this guy is strong. What he lacks in technique, he makes up for in sheer strength and tosses guys around. Know the guy is bailing haze in the summertime and then gets in there and yeah, he does the damn thing, right? He's a tough kid, and that style could yield a ton of success with Edson Barboza. Here's the other problem when you think about Bryce Mitchell is that he's been looking good against the kind of opponents that are tailor-made to his game. His debut against Tyler Diamond, they actually both took each other down 3 times. Tyler Diamond, not overly known for his wrestling, but doesn't matter. His next fight against Bobby Moffitt, that's the only time he fought an actual wrestler in his career. He got taken down 5 times. He got no takedowns against Bobby Moffitt. Squeaked out a decision, terrible fight. But against an actual wrestler, his wrestling was completely nullified. His next 3 are Matt Sales. Absolutely cannot wrestle. So he takes him down and twisters him. Looks cool. That's very tailor-made to his game. The next one's Charles Rosa, who absolutely cannot wrestle. So it's tailor-made to his game. He takes him down a pile of times and racks up the points. And then Andre Fili, well, I wouldn't say Andre Fili cannot wrestle, but Andre Fili's been taken down more than twice in a fight by 5 different opponents in the UFC. Has a career takedown defense of 50%. It's not particularly good, right? He trains a team alpha male, but he's got a long, lanky frame. He's not those little Chad Mendes, Joseph Benavidez, TJ Dillashaw, Josh Emmett, Uriah Faber. He don't got the frame of a classic team alpha male guy. He just happens to train at the gym. He's more of a Teruto Ishihara, if you know what I'm saying. So Bryce Mitchell's the hot flavor du jour. He's undefeated. He looks incredibly good. He's got a twister. He's got a sweet little highlight. But he's fought in, I'm not going to call them bums, but he's fought in a very low level. Whereas Edson Barboza has fought in every great fighter the sport has ever yielded at his weight class. In fact, multiple weight classes. So it's tough. I don't want to buy the hype, right? You're buying a minus 150 price tag favorite on the he's looked really good against guys that absolutely could not wrestle. Whereas Edson Barboza, if you were to say, well, he absolutely cannot wrestle. Makwan Amirkhani scored at least 1 takedown in, I think, every single
3.
one of his UFC fights. He's a Finnish wrestling champion. He's actually a very fine wrestler. Dan Ige, I'm not huge on. Only got 1 takedown against Dan Ige. But again, Dan Ige is a guy that wrestled collegiately, right? Teams out of Extreme Couture. And then what? Kevin Lee, Khabib Nurmagomedov. For the record, Khabib went 4 for 13 on takedowns against Edson Barboza. It's not like he can't wrestle. It's that he fights the best guys. So if for whatever reason, Mitchell, who doesn't train at a big camp, and I think he trains at the University of Arkansas with their wrestling team, D1 program, so he's getting good reps in against quality wrestlers. But if for whatever reason he can't take Edson Barboza down,
he's toast if he can't get a takedown.
He's in a lot of
It's
trouble.
going to be bad.
He's in a lot.
Like, his striking has improved, but
yeah.
But not like there's. This is a very, very straightforward fight. Bryce Mitchell either gets the takedowns or he gets absolutely lit up on the feet. There really is no in between.
Well, there is an in-between. There's an in-between that you can bet it live, is that Bryce Mitchell probably gets the takedown in the first round. He probably goes out there, muscles him up against the cage, picks him up and slams him. He's fresh, he's strong, he's gritty, he's antsy, and there's a live crowd at the T-Mobile Arena that's urging him on. It's the second round, because as you noticed in the Andre Fili fight, he takes Fili down a pile of times in the first round. The second time he starts to slow down, and he's tired.
Yeah,
takedowns
Edson
aren't
gets
quite
tired
there
too,
anymore.
though.
Right, and Fili tires too. So with Edson, Edson tires as well. He's 37, hasn't fought in 15
Edson flat
months.
out lost round 3 against Makwan. Why? Because Makwan actually shot for a takedown early. The other two,
I didn't like
for
the fight
whatever reason,
calls.
Mac won in those first 2 rounds. He's way down, and then like with 10 seconds left, shoots for a takedown. It's like that takedown is completely irrelevant at this point. Like, you lost the round. You would have had to do something spectacular to get the round back.
Yeah. Listen, I think there's going to be a lot of apple pie shit around this card. And I suppose if you're going to play Bryce Mitchell, fine it to you. But I wouldn't put him higher up on your list of priorities. Edson Barboza, Remember that Benil Dariush knockout? Remember the Terry Edom knockout? You don't want to mess with this guy. So plus 130 to me in a fight that, again, man, it could go either way. Yeah, I'll roll the dog. You're going with the favorite. I don't blame you, brother.
Yeah, I haven't bet it because I am scared of a massive disparity on the feet. We'll move on, though. We've got Kevin Holland taking on Alex Cowboy Oliveira, minus 320 Holland, plus 250 Oliveira. Holland moving down to 170 pounds. It probably would have been wise for me to wait to see how the weigh-ins go. But like, Holland's always came in, even at middleweight, he's come in at like 183 or like 182. It's like, he's really tall. He's very lanky. I don't think he really struggled whatsoever. I don't think he cut very much weight whatsoever to get to 185 pounds. There's going to be obviously some work to put in to get down to here. Alex Cowboy Oliveira, on the other hand, used to be a lightweight. Way too big for a lightweight. He always pretty much made it, but, moving up to 170, that fills his frame quite a bit more. But, Holland's got, 81-inch reach. He's 6'3". Welterweight, if he can consistently make this weight class, could be pretty good for him. In terms of how this fight breaks down and why I added him to a parlay with Colby Covington, I think, striking at range, Kevin Holland's got the better boxing here. Cardio, it's probably a bit of a coin toss, but if everything works out well with the weight cut for Kevin Holland, I think he's got the advantage there. Cowboy usually slows down the stretch. And yeah, in terms of their stand-up game, I think it's not even close. Holland has the big advantage there. And finally, if it does go, the strategy is right there in front of everybody. You take Kevin Holland down. Like, Marvin Vettori took him down 12 times over the course of 5 rounds. That's what you do. You take him down. But, is Alex Oliveira going to be able to take him down just straight up, just hold him there? And then is he going to be able to stop? Like, Kevin Holland's got decent jiu-jitsu off of his back. Like, is he going to be able to stop him in that realm? Watching tape on both of these guys, I figured that Kevin Holland, it kind of pained me inside, but I was like, Kevin Holland, as long as this weight cut goes well, he should absolutely roll in this situation. So that's where I'm at. What about you?
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and agree. I know that a lot of people are calling this one a potential trap line of the week because Kevin Holland cannot wrestle, but I think that I don't know. I just don't agree with the assessment necessarily. He fights Derek Brunson, who's a top 5 contender as of a few weeks ago, and a guy that wrestled collegiately, and a guy that took down Yoel Romero. Gives up 6 takedowns. Okay, all right. Can't wrestle in that fight. Very next fight, takes on Marvin Vettori, and he got no better, man. He got taken down 11 times by Marvin Vettori over the course of 25 minutes. It gets no better for him. But he's not stupid. He realizes this, okay? The guy's a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. He put a beating on Jacare on the ground, which I don't think anybody saw coming. Knocked him out, but, his guard looked awesome in that fight. Mm-hmm. He realizes he can't wrestle. So you know what he does? He goes and he links up with the best wrestler in the state of Texas for MMA, Fat Johnny Hendricks, who at this point is a heavyweight. So getting in reps with a guy who's a former national champion, very high-level guy, it worked really well for him, I think. The Kyle Daukaus fight is expected that Kevin Holland can't wrestle. And oh my God, Paul, his wrestling looked way better, way better. He got taken down once on 5 attempts by Kyle Daukaus. He stuffs a few. He's looking, he's laughing, he's talking to the people in the crowd. You know how Kevin Holland is. But he's saying, my wrestling's getting better. And after the fight's a no contest.
He's talking to Cormier, yeah.
Yeah, and he's basically like, Kevin Holland's learning how to wrestle. And it's like, you know what? This guy's 29 years old. He's still making improvements. He's getting better, and he's committed to his game. He's a fighter. He's got a ton of pro fights, dude. He's almost got 30 pro fights, and he's figuring it out. He used to be an awkward striker, but now it's like, striking's pretty refined. His ground game used to be not so good, but now it's like, it's developed, solid guard. All good stuff. You saw glimpses of it in the Daukaus fight. It's like he's working on it. And I forget what the exact term he used afterwards, but it's like, well, I guess I'm going to go back to Hendrickstan or something like that was his joke, like Dagestan, but Johnny Hendricks. Guess I'll be heading back to Hendrickstan and getting ready for the rematch. Like, it was back to the wrestling. So low-key, after that Kyle Daukaus fight, he fought in that Fury Pro Grappling against Cody Hamra. Now, Cody Hamra wrestled D1 at North Carolina State. The guy's actually a really good wrestler. And I'll be damned, Kevin Holland's wrestling looked way better. He's spending a lot of time wrestling. And so you're going to see a better version of him, I think. And that's going to be key here because he's going to have to keep this fight standing, I would assume. Now, here's another thing that's pretty key is that Brunson has to settle down for 6 takedowns over the course of 25 minutes. Marvin Vettori needs to settle for 11 takedowns over the course of 25 minutes. Alex Oliveira has not scored more than 1 takedown in a fight since the Nick Dalby fight almost 4 years ago. And he lost that fight because he gassed out. So he's not a wrestler, dude. He's not a chain wrestler. He's not going to continuously put you on your back every single round and dominate. What Kevin Holland's problem is that he can get back up. He's good, actually pretty good at getting back up. It's that as soon as he gets back up, he gets taken back down. Guys like Vettori can fight all night. Guys like Brunson, well, Brunson doesn't got good cardio, but he was just able to take him down, I guess. Whatever. It's one of those things. Oliveira is not that guy. He's on a 3-fight losing streak. He's looked increasingly worse over the stretch of those fights. He's not only not a wrestler who is known to gas out, but he's taking on a guy who used to fight at 205 pounds, has fought some high-level talent at 185. You think he's just going to go take down a guy that big over and over repeatedly without tiring out?
I don't.
Nah, it's not gonna happen. So low key, I got Holland, that's high key. But low key, what's the Holland by submission prop? I know you mentioned it, but what is it?
Oh, I didn't mention it. I can look.
It's going to be a standing guillotine choke. I'm telling you what's going to happen is that Oliveira's going to get tired. He's going to push him up against the cage. He's going to shoot on a sloppy double leg, put his head in harm's way. Holland's too big, too gangly. Shavkat Rakhmonov, he did the same thing. The guy gets lazy up against the cage and he's going to snatch up a standing guillotine choke. Too bad your book won't give you a specifically by guillotine. Because imagine that, dude. It'd be like plus 5,000. But settle for the Holland by submission. If you're a long
Holland
play
by
guy
sub
and
is
straight
plus 800 at DraftKings Sports.
Oh, yes.
One of the sharper books out there opened it at plus 550. So maybe they're seeing what you're seeing. Interesting.
I'm saying it's a possibility.
That's a YOLO situation that I am not afraid to add to my card. Thank you, Cody. Let's go get that bread. Got to make note of that. All right, moving on down. We've got Sergey Spivak taking on Greg Hardy. Minus 190 Spivak, plus 160 for Hardy. Who do you got here?
Yeah, here's another dog situation, I think, with Greg Hardy. I know it's not the prettiest thing, and he's got a bad rap, and he hasn't looked good in the last couple of fights, but it's a heavyweight fight, and it's going to be closer to 50-50 than you think it is. I think Hardy's got an ability to go out there and knock Spivak out the first round, maybe the first 7 minutes. If for whatever reason it gets extended beyond 7 minutes, pull the shoot live and get out of that one, or just kiss your ticket goodbye. Like, he's going to need to finish it early. But I think there's a possibility that he finishes it early. So we know with Sergey Spivak, decent cardio, he's able to take you down, but his chin's just not all that good. His UFC debut against Walt Harris, big, strong, athletic guy who hits hard. He gets knocked out in 50 seconds. Fair. That fight against Tom Aspinall his last time out, right? Big, strong, physical guy, hits him and knocks him out. He does show a win over Tai Tuivasa, who's a big, strong, physical guy who's explosive with power. But it was a different version of Tai, you know? Like, I think he was still figuring out his game and his training, and the takedowns were there all night for him in that spot. But beyond that, I think he's going to run into trouble with athletic, explosive guys. Now, his wins outside of Tai, Carlos Felipe, super lumbering, right? Jared Vandera, super lumbering. And, of course, Alexei Olenek, probably the key definition of super lumbering. Most lumbering guy I've seen in the division, that's for damn sure. Guys that move quick and beat him to the punch, they typically fold him over in the first round. Well, Greg Hardy, again, you like to laugh at the guy, but let's just look at his last 2 fights. Marcin Tybura, he is beating the crap out of Marcin Tybura in the first round. He looks good. He's finally putting that long range to use, touching him up with the jab, laser right hand. Tybura's rocked a couple of occasions. I've got Tybura. This is a ticket that's dead in the water. Sweet goodbye. But then the asthma kicks in, right? Dude's asthmatic. They don't let him take the puffer in there with him. And so when he fails to finish Tybura in the first round, he just gasses out, gets taken down in the second, finish, done, over, right? But he almost knocked out Tybura in the first round. He didn't look terrible. Now, this next fight with Tai Tuivasa, he's this close to knocking out Tai Tuivasa. And when there was no shoeies that night, Tai wouldn't be this big star. He would have never got the Derek Lewis fight. He's got Tai rocked. But of course, big Samoan chin. Tai sticks in and hits him with the counter hook and then drops him back. You can see that this guy's dangerous, but fighting good level of competition that are able to overcome some early adversity, it's not materializing. Against Spivak, it could materialize. He's going to jump on him the first 3 to 5 minutes, and I think there's a possibility he finishes. If he doesn't, I get it. Spivak bettors are going to be absolutely correct. He'll take him down. He'll tire him out. He'll ground and pound him. For sure. But this is closer to 50-50, dude. So, again, there's going to be dogs on this card that hit. I think this is a chance for one of them, and it's just a dog or pass. When I talk about fights that I'm not looking to have a whole lot of investment in because I'm not sure either way, tons of different possible outcomes. Yeah, this is, of course, one of them. Very volatile.
And after, I'm not going to add too much onto it. I don't really love Hardy. I wasn't considering betting him whatsoever. I could see the dog or pass does seem pretty straightforward. But after the way that Tybura fight played out, you got to figure, Hardy has a decent team around him. They see where the holes are in his game. Obviously, the cardio isn't great, especially when he's fighting at such a high clip. He's throwing so many significant strikes in one round. And the grappling is definitely a way for people to exploit him, 100%. So I have to imagine he's been working on sprawl training. And if Spivak is not able to take him down, it could be somewhat competitive on the feet, but yeah, Hardy showed against Tai Tuivasa. It's like he can totally crack. Maybe he can't take punishment the way that Tai Tuivasa does, but not many people on earth can. So I'm okay with a dogger pass scenario here. I don't think I'm going to touch it, to be perfectly honest, because I just see Greg Hardy is just too many holes in his game. The grappling is, if Spivak gets out there, takes him down immediately, probably a great live betting opportunity, even though the line may not be great, but spam it early. Or after round one, if Spivak spent the entire first round on top of him, Spivak inside the distance, because I don't know if Greg has 3-round I'm riding from bottom cardio. So that's kind of how I'd be looking at it. I don't think I'd be betting this with I have no interest in betting that fight, to be perfectly honest. All right, moving on down, we've got Jalin Turner taking on Jamie Mullarkey. Jalin Turner, minus 155 favorite. Mullarkey can be had for plus 135. Watching the tape on these two guys. Turner, they're both really, really young. You have 26 years old for Turner, 27 years old for Mullarkey. You kind of start, you're seeing the growth and the building of their skill sets in process. And part of what you see from Turner is that they're really, he's been working on that grappling game. He's working on his chokes. Mullarkey has decent wrestling, which was showcased in the fight against Devontae. Or no, it wasn't. It was the Fair Zayam fight. And that's what got me onto McKinney, actually. Went back and watched that. Got McKinney round 1 sub last week. And it really had to do with how Mullarkey was able to take down Fair Zayam. I thought, I kind of just figured that Terrence McKinney was a better a better wrestler than him. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit off course here. I think in terms of what we have seen from Jalin Turner, I think the upside for him is a little bit higher than what I see from Mullarkey. Turner's got crazy, crazy power, super long technical strikes. And the only question that I do have with him is cardio. If this fight does go late, Jamie Mullarkey has shown the ability to fight 3 rounds. Turner, once you get around the 8-minute mark, it gets a little bit dicey. I did throw some money on the under in this fight at I don't have the number in front of me right this second. I had to take a screen grab of it. 1 second. I got the under for this fight. You know what, shit? I did not bet this fight. I'm an idiot. Anyway, I'm leaning towards Turner. I see the growth in his game right now, and I think at range, while they're striking, he's going to have a significant advantage. What about you?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jamie Mullarkey. I think it's another live underdog spot. I mean, again, there's a lot of close, highly contested fights on this card. I could see them going either way. Jalin Turner looks good. He looks really good. Definitely could see him coming through. Here's the thing: is that when you say he looks good, well, they get two. So he makes a short notice debut against Vicente Luque, gets smoked, no problem. Vicente Luque, I'll give you a pass all day. But his wins over Callan Potter, who's since been released and is no good. Josh Kulabau, although he's still with the promotion, is no good. Brock Weaver, no longer with the promotion, is no good. And Uros Medic, I don't know what the hell's going on with him, but he is straight out no good. So he has a knack of beating low-level guys. Okay,
he's only 26.
Yeah, no, dude, he's going to be good. He's going to be good. But has he fought anybody that could test him? Well, I don't know. Let's talk about that one time against Matt Frivola. I mean, that one time he fought a guy that knew how to wrestle? You mean that one time that dude knew how to wrestle, took him down 4 times and controlled him? Yeah, that's right. I think his takedown defense is going to be a bit of an issue. And the thing with Jamie Mullarkey, he's a straight-up junkyard dog. He is going to be coming at you. You need to either knock him out or pack a lunch because he is going to be coming for 15 full minutes. It's a problem. Once upon a time, he had been knocked out by Alexander Volkanovski. It's 2016. Since then, he trained with Alexander Volkanovski. He's a poor man's version. He's big, he's physically strong, and he likes to wear down on his opponents. He'll throw heat in the pocket, but it's all about hitting you twice to push you up against the cage and wear on you. You mentioned the Faraz-Ziam fight. Well, first of all, Brad Riddell fights his debut. He actually looks pretty good. Loses a decision. Brad Riddell's a top guy. The Faraz-Ziam fight, he gets robbed, man. He got, 7 takedowns? Grinding on him, beat on him, loses a decision. Okay, fair. The Commonworthy fight's a quick knockout. Don't waste your time. The Devontae Smith fight, this is key for me. Devontae is very fast, very explosive, very athletic, very good early, right? The beginning of that round, it's all Devontae Smith. Standing to the outside, he's tagging him, he's hitting him. He rocks him with a couple good shots, but Mullarkey's just so goddamn tough. He takes everything. Very similar to where Jalin Turner will probably be faster, more athletic, a speedster, stay to the outside, touch him up early. But Mullarkey can take it. At the end of that first round, minute left, Mullarkey steps through the pocket, smacks Devontae Smith, pushes him up against the cage. 10 seconds left. He picks him up. He slams him. He gets on top of him, and the buzzer goes. He broke him right in that moment. The second round starts. Devontae Smith is already a broken man, and Mullarkey just continues his pace. He just keeps building. He's a steam engine. He keeps getting better and better and better. No doubt Jalin Turner is going to be live early. I think that Mullarkey is going to be able to grind on him second, third round, complete these takedowns, and just keep working on him. He's a big dude, man. He's 6 feet tall, right? Mm-hmm. 6 feet tall, as big as a 155-pound frame can get, and has good cardio. If you're going to get plus money on him, he is a problem, and I'm looking to invest in that problem. So I know I've taken underdogs in the last 3 fights, but if we're being perfectly clear here, I don't really care for Edson Barboza. I really don't. Greg Hardy, not bad, but he needs that quick finish. Mullarkey, I like Mullarkey. This is a live underdog that I can get behind.
Oh, okay. My only concern with that, I was considering the under 1.5 because it was 1.5. I don't really know. I would lean towards the under at plus money, which is available out there, but I didn't get on it eventually. Round 3 versus Faraz-Ziam for Jamie Mullarkey. Like at the end of that round, Mullarkey has one significant strike in that round. He was able to take him down, but Ziam at the end of that round is on top, punishing him with strikes. That was a little bit off for me. But both of these guys are super, super young. They're obviously working. We're going to see them get better and better every single fight. I just think Turner probably has the higher ceiling just based on his length and what seems to be a new grappling ability for 55. Him. Yeah,
fair enough.
When Covington and Masvidal step into the octagon Saturday at UFC 272, DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC, has a knockout offer for new customers. Bet just $1 on the main event and get $100 in free bets no matter what. Could be a first-round knockout, majority draw, double knockout, resulting in a no contest. No matter the outcome, you get paid. If Sportsbook isn't available in your state yet, you can still feel the thrill of UFC 272 with DraftKings free-to-play pools. Anyone can enter a free pool with $10,000 in prizes. Answer a handful of questions like, how long will the fight last? And who will walk out a winner? And follow along to track your results. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now. Use promo code DOP. Throw down just $1 on UFC 272 main event and get $100 in free bets no matter the outcome. That's code DOP this Saturday at DraftKings Sportsbook, the official sports betting partner of UFC. 21 plus restrictions apply. See show notes for details.
All right, we got Marina Rodriguez taking on Xionan, minus 255 Marina, plus 205 Yan. Who you got here?
This one's probably going to burn me because it's a women's MMA match, but I got Marina Rodriguez. I think she's the rightful favorite. I never seen her lose a striking battle, and I think that this thing largely plays out as a striking battle. The stout wrestlers of the division have been able to go and take her down repeatedly. You know, the Carlos Esparzas of the world, the Cynthia Calvillos of the world, Ronda Marcos once upon a time when Rodriguez is still developing on her way up. But outside of elite level wrestlers, if you're not going to take her down, you got to stand in front of her. She hits very, very hard for this division. She gets your opponent's attention pretty quickly, and she's got some decent volume. Her last two fights against Michelle Waterson and Mackenzie Dern were both 5-round fights. Puts up big numbers, 125 and 144 respectively in the striking categories, and now goes back down to a 3-round fight. So no reason for me not to believe that the pace is going to be in order, the power is going to be in order, the technique is going to be in order. It's just low key, she gives up a takedown against Mackenzie Dern, who can't wrestle absolutely, right? I think it's just, she does get taken down twice, but I think Fight Metric records it as 1. Michelle Waterson scores 1. Amanda Ribas gets 1. Esparza with 5. Calvillo with 3. A lot of opponents have taken her down, and with Yan, she's been working on her wrestling quite a bit. You've seen in her last fight, actually she got destroyed. Yeah, you know what? That's the key here.
No, bud.
She took down Karolina Kowalkiewicz 5 times.
I know the
when she took on anybody with a pulse and a bit of grappling skill, they just dominated. And Carla, her last time out, it showed that there's very clear levels, and Yan won on that level. So if her wrestling's not good enough to take down Rodriguez, it's going to stay standing. If it stays standing, Rodriguez has got the volume. She's got the power. She's got the experience. She's got the durability. She's got the cardio. She wins the fight, right? But it's women's MMA, Paul. It's got a way of stinging me. So I will play it, but buyer beware.
Because it's women's MMA, I wanted to bet the underdog here. And I went and I saw Karolina Kowalkiewicz taken down 5 times, and I was just like, this is going to be the fight. When I'm watching tape, this is going to be the answer for why I should back Jan as an underdog in this situation. Stats lie, Cody. You know what really happened in that fight? Karolina had nothing on the feet. She's at the end of the line. She actually barged in and grabbed underhooks a bunch of times and got 2 of those takedowns at least early in the fight. Or her barging in and then getting judo tossed to the ground. I think Karolina pretty much realized early on in that fight, I'm gonna lose this fight at range, but also my wrestling isn't good enough to take this girl down. I think she was kind of just letting her take her down, and she thought maybe I can catch a sub off of my back. That's kind of how I read into it, because the entries to the takedowns weren't great. She has judo hip tosses. That's what maybe she can force those exchanges in this fight. But I thought when I was going, I was really let down, because I'm like, man, if she's shooting blast doubles in this fight, this is how you beat Marina Rodriguez. This is how you pay off that plus 205 price tag. We're all gonna get rich. And I came away from watching the tape on that saying, I don't think she's a very good wrestler at all. I think Karolina wanted the fight on the mat and kind of just let it happen. So, yeah, I think it is Marina Rodriguez for me. And it sounds like it's Marina Rodriguez for you. I just haven't seen enough from Yan in the wrestling department. That is going to be the path for her. Maybe she's made some big strides, but that's where stats kind of lie. Sometimes people are like, oh, people just reference the stats on these types of things. It's having a balance between stats and tape is really, really the key as far as I'm considered. All right, moving on down, we've got Kennedy and Nzechukwu taking on Negumereanu. Never going to get that guy's name right. Minus 150 for Kennedy, plus 130 for Nick. Who you got here, buddy?
Yeah, I got Kennedy Nzechukwu in the battle of hard to pronounce last names. Nzechukwu beats out Negumereanu. I don't know, man. It could be close. It could be greasy. This is, again, not the kind of fight you're going to want a ton of investment in. It's just Negumereanu, when he first came in the UFC, so fraud, man. So fraudulent, this guy. 9-0 record, fought absolutely nobody. Fights Saparbek Safarov and got dominated. Had no idea what MMA was. Almost got deducted a point. Did he get deducted a point? Just looks out of it, gets taken down. He's billed as a Romanian wrestler, but his wrestling looked absolutely trash in that fight. It's like a really, really bad performance for a young fighter. Got taken down 3 times, landed 11 strikes over the course of 15 minutes. So the UFC should cut him, but they don't. They actually just sent him the sidelines for 2.5 years. Comes back from this 2.5 year long layoff, and he's picked up a couple wins. But again, the Alexa Kamor fight, his wrestling doesn't look that good. The problem is Kamor blew his load in the first round. Like, he punched himself out. He lands a ton of strikes in the first, gasses, and then slightly Negumereanu works his way back in. But by the numbers, Alexa Kamor outstruck him 102-71.
Yeah.
It's a split decision win for Nick. It's not super thralling either side, and there's a bunch of people online that's screaming a robbery, but at least he gets the job done in his official return from 2.5 year long from the layoff. Cool. Then he gets Ike Villanueva. Well, there's just nothing I can take from that. Ike's very low level, and he punched him out in the first round. So
and he punched the back of his head like 6 times.
Yeah, like, can he club? Yeah, he's a clubber. He doesn't have refined striking technique. He doesn't snap his punches. He doesn't twist his hips, but he will club you, right? And his wrestling, his Romanian wrestling background is just not high enough caliber to consistently rely on. His cardio, although he's outlasted Alexa Kamor, he was gassed himself, dude. He was completely on fumes, but they were both tired, and he definitely wanted it more. Now, he does spend a little time at Extreme Couture with the action man Chris Curtis. Got a shout out to my boy. But it's like 5 weeks out. It's not like he's there all the time. He's in Romania, and then he'll come over 5 weeks out, finish off his camp. So I'm sure he's getting better and he's improving. I just don't know really at what rate. Kenny, meanwhile, he's a busted prospect. I mean, I think we all love the fact that he was 6'5" with an 83-inch reach, training out of a good gym at Fortis MMA in Texas. Maybe he would improve. There's a lot of glaring holes to his game, but this is almost a good fight for him, right? Because Negumereanu doesn't really have the volume to keep up with Kennedy. I think Kennedy, the Carlos Ulberg fight, he lands 82 significant strikes through 2.5 rounds, right? Or through 8 minutes and 19 seconds. He had landed 82 significant strikes. He's got good pace. The fights he shows low pace in are as when you're taking him down. But I don't think that Nick's going to take him down because I don't think his wrestling is really all that good. So if he's forced to stand with Kennedy, Kennedy's just going to beat him length. This is big octagon, the T-Mobile. It's not the Apex. So I think he'll be able to stay to the outside, put that 83-inch reach to good use, batter him up. If you win the first 2 rounds and for whatever reason get tired and do get taken down, I just don't think that Negumereanu's got that big finishing touch. But the reason this is not a complete stay away, but mostly I don't know, is I didn't expect him to get clubbed out like that from Da Ung Jung, and he got clubbed out. Mm-hmm. And that's actually what Negumereanu does. So if this kid steps in the pocket and just slugs on Kennedy, what was that, 3 months ago? He just got knocked out by Da Ung Jung. First time in his career he'd ever been knocked out. Ulberg hit him with 144 significant strikes, took them all. Took one from Da Ung Jung and toppled over. So cause for concern. And Negumereanu's young enough that like he could be getting better. And Kennedy is, again, he's a busted prospect. We gotta realize that. But I'm backing dogs on this card. But this just is not a spot where I'm looking to do that. So I will take Kennedy as the official pick.
That's fair enough. I was, going back and watching Nick's fights. The one against Kamor, I mean, he got lucky to get that decision. People who bet Nick in that spot, pretty lucky to get that decision. Were the rounds close? Yes. But it was almost kind of like, when you have like the Shikagian, the Hiaz, like he was whiffing on a whole bunch of strikes. But you're in the Apex, you're in a smaller venue. it won the favor of the judges. It is what it is. But like he wasn't really landing on a bunch of them. He was missing some haymakers, absolutely, early on, and it wasn't very pretty. Not a fight I really want to get invested in whatsoever as well. I think Kennedy losing to Da Un Jung. I think Da Un Jung, throw out the Alvey fight. Da Un Jung is a pretty decent little prospect that probably doesn't get enough respect. But yeah, that is a little bit scary. I was looking for like what's the number on Nick round 1, and I don't see anybody posting anything like that right now. I could totally see Nick just like go in like balls to the wall. Let's knock this guy out early and often, and maybe catching him. But the longer this fight goes, the more likely that Kennedy uses that reach, uses that length, is able to pick them apart. There is a big difference in the skill disparity. But the one problem I have, and you saw it in the Alberg fight, is like Kennedy was very, very happy to kind of just shell up and just like take shots. And it's just like, we're talking about 205-pound men. Guys who on fight night, they're probably like 220, 225, like swinging hard. Like just shelling up like that while you're blocking a bunch of it, if anything gets through, it can shut your lights out. And that's what happened against Da Un Jung. So I was leaning towards a dogger pass type of situation, but not a fight I have money on. Moving on down, we have the real blood feud, Cody. Mariya Agapova takes on Marina Moroz, minus 190. Agapova, plus 160. Moroz, what's your take here?
Yeah, this is another reason I don't like betting early. Is I've got now tickets that have Mariya Agapova on them that I wish I hadn't bet. It's just a greasy fight, man. It could go either way. Like, could you see Marina Moroz winning? Yes. Could you see Mariya Agapova winning? Sure. And the price is not particularly good for Agapova. It's women's MMA. It's going to be a striking battle for the most part, I believe. Maybe not. But shit, man, I don't know. So Marina Moroz's big mouth cost me a lot of money last time out because she went on a tirade about how Agapova was getting arrested at American Top Team, got kicked out of the main Coconut Creek facility. Cops were showing up. She got a drug problem. She wrecked 3 cars. She threatened to stab one of the male teammates' wives, who was pregnant, by the way. She threatened to stab her. Apparently, she threatens to stab a lot of people, right?
She's a wild child.
She's not so. She doesn't really have a great grasp of the language. All of her fights, she's throwing up gang signs right before the fight takes place. You notice that? She throws up a lot of gang signs. I'd like to see a prop over or under gang signs she throws up before this one. 4.5? 5.5? All the same. It's like she's a character. Yeah, and she's coming off a loss to Shayna Dobson. And then when you hear all those stories, you're like, it all makes sense. She looked awful against Dobson. I think
she
we
looked
can all
good for
agree
about
that.
2 minutes against Dobson. And then
I shouldn't say awful. She
set
really
a pace.
Good for 2 minutes.
She set a pace that she could not keep, and it got really ugly. Like that's like she's Jekyll and Hyde, really. It's like if she's in really, really good shape, and she shows up, and she's done all of her training, and she hasn't whatever type of trouble that she gets herself into when she's not fighting. If she's avoided all of that type of stuff. Well, we see what she did against Sabina Mazo, which is an ability to fight off of her feet, throw absolute hammers, and it was a masterclass. It was a great performance by her. It showed the ceiling that she's like 24 years old. It showed the ceiling that she has, but if she hasn't been training all that hard, she could show up and pull a Dobson. By the way, Pat Mayo was the casher of Dobson versus Agapova. It was like one of the biggest. I mean, hindsight being 2020, the odds on that did seem kind of ridiculous. I think you had like a plus 850 underdog, Pat, on that. I knew. He knew. He absolutely knew. I think Mariya wins. Not Marina. Mariya Agapova wins. Able to fight off her back feet, landing the much more damaging shots. Moroz, I know she was on the Ukrainian boxing team, but I don't see much from her wrestling to lead me to believe that she's going to be able to consistently hold Agapova down. And yeah, like she was credited with like 130 significant strikes against against
Marina
Bueno Silva. That was her last time out. It was March 2020. Ever since then, she's went on to social media. She's making money. She's friends with Laredo, so like that's probably how she got the idea to go down that path. And hey, if nobody's paying to see me, nobody's paying to see me look sexy on Instagram. So who am I to judge? But yeah, watching that fight against Bueno Silva is like, I don't know how. The guy who is scoring this must have Moroz on DraftKings if she's given, like, there was not 137 significant strikes. The stats are completely 139 significant strikes. Absolute nonsense. Like, that was a really, really close fight. Really, like, she won the unanimous decision, but, like, Bueno Silva was landing the much better strikes, much better, more punishing shots. I think Agapova can win off of her back foot in this just by landing the better strikes. So I think she's a rightful favorite. I mean, I've already asked you. You sounded a little bit in between on it.
Yeah. Well, as I was kind of getting to, I don't know. Listen, if it's going to be a striking battle, sure. Agapova, better numbers based on what? The last fight against Sabina Mazo. Okay. But I mean, Marina Moroz fought Sabina Mazo and equally kicked her ass. So it's hard to kind of get a great gauge of it. Here's the thing that I think low-key could screw me up. Because, listen, it's women's MMA. So where's it going to blow up in my face? And I've got a 2-1 favorite on Agapova, who is the minus 1,400 was against Dobson. She blew that one. Why is she not going to blow this one? Here's what I think is going to go wrong. It's the wrestling. So Marina Moroz has career takedown accuracy of 18%. Not good. But that's taking her entire body of work. You got to look at her last two fights. The Sabina Mazo fight, she pursues takedowns the entire fight. She gets it in the first round, right? As soon as she gets on top, good top control, beats Sabina Mazo in the first round. Second and third round, she'd throw a few strikes and pin her up against the cage. She grappled for 15 strong minutes against Mazo in that spot. The very next fight against Marina Bueno is the first time she ever scores more than one takedown in a fight when she scores two. Her jab's on point. It was on point in the Mazo fight where she just shattered her nose, blood everywhere. It was definitely on point in this fight against Bueno Silva. Jab, eventually set up the takedown, take her down. When she does get the takedown, she does excellent. Maria Agapova, meanwhile, can't wrestle to my knowledge. She's got a career takedown defense of 33%, but that doesn't matter. What matters is she fought Tracy Cortez, dope wrestler, gives up 4 takedowns. I'll give you a pass. Hannah Cypher's never shot one, okay? Shayna Dobson took her down twice on 2 attempts, Paul. Shayna Dobson took her down twice on 2 attempts. Bad news. The next fight against Sabina Mazo never attempted one single takedown. So her 2 wins are against girls, never attempted to wrestle her. Her 2 losses are to girls that just mixed in some wrestling. And if you watch any of Marina Moroz's last 2 fights, she's not a Ukrainian boxing champion anymore or training with the Olympic team. She likes to wrestle. She's at American top team. She likes to wrestle. And if she gets on Agapova and starts wrestling, big question mark for me. Big red flag. I don't know if Agapova can wrestle. Last time I saw her try, it didn't go good. She choked out Mazo. That was a pretty dope rear naked choke, but she rocked her right before it. So, like, how much of that is discombobulation? How much of that is clean technique? I don't know. It was a pretty good rear naked choke, but it's women's MMA. She's going to get taken down, and it's going to blow the ticket. I know it. But that's why I like to bet after weigh-ins and all this jazz. So hopefully I'm wrong, but I got a bad gut feeling. I think officially I am going to take Agapova. I'm ride or die at this point, but I got a bad gut feeling. You don't want overexposure on this.
That's fair. I mean, I don't have a bet on it. I was just making the case that I think that she can win it at range. The wrestling is a big wild card, though. I don't know much about Maria Agapova's wrestling, and I'm more inclined to like throw the Dobson performance out because it sounded like she was having some big time issues in her life, and yeah, clearly like she came out there like she looked like a different fighter. Both physically, like her muscles and stuff like that, like her abs were showing a lot more following up after that fight than they were against Dobson. So I just think it was a bad day at the office. Young girl who getting herself into trouble, didn't train nearly hard enough, and got exposed for it. We'll see how she shows up this week. It's definitely a fight that I think you 100% want to watch the weigh-ins before doing anything for. Next up, we got the coronation of Umar. Cousin Umar is is back, and he is a minus 700 favorite against 13-fight UFC veteran Brian Kelleher, who can be at for plus 500. I mean, cousin Umar, my friend, he may be the chosen one, Cody. I think he may be the chosen one. This guy's striking ability is like he's throwing like question mark kicks, all of that type of stuff. His entries to his takedowns are on point. Everything about cousin Umar leads me to believe that he's a future champion in this division. I don't think he beats Jan today, but he's only 25 years old. Give him like 3 years to work on the rest of his game right now. Cousin Umar's a problem. But the problem is he's minus 700. There's not much you can do with it. And he's taking on a very, very good opponent who has a dangerous guillotine. Has some decent pop for 135 pounds in his hands as well. Brian Kelleher, he's got some decent hooks. But I laid the wood. I grabbed it at a whole bunch of different shops. Plus 130 was the opener. Under 2.5. It's plus 110, I think, out there. I think that's still fine. I think cousin Umar is going to put on a show. Like, watching him versus Moroz, it's like, what can't this guy do? Absolute stud. Cousin Umar is a rifle favorite. Minus 700 is very jarring to look at. But I think this fight ends. I think it ends relatively early. The differentiation between cousin Umar inside the distance versus the under 2.5 rounds wasn't enough for me to get invested, so I just took the under. So I suppose in theory I should be happy if Brian Kelleher catches him in a guillotine or something like that, but I won't be. I think cousin Umar is the next champion everyone's going to give a lot of attention to Makhachev. I think cousin Umar is the man. That's it.
Yeah, honestly, there's a bunch of these guys. I remember a good friend of mine, Nzechukwu, used to talk about it back in the day. He's like, the reason why the UFC won't just take all the Russians is because then all of your champions are Russian, all the top 5 guys in all your divisions are Russian, and it's very hard to market the sport to a North American audience. So you'll see why is it like, whoa, how'd Bellator get this Russian? It's like the UFC knew we have too many of them. And you know, of course, they've got another excellent one here in Umar Nurmagomedov. He's a complete package, man. Whereas the other scary Russians can all wrestle, this guy can wrestle and strike. I think that's what makes him unique. 13-0, undefeated, has done literally nothing wrong. The one time, I guess, because I know you're fond of this fight as well, is the Kakramanov fight from.
And that got me on to Kakramanov because I was like, wait a second, this guy is competing at the, and I think he was like 21. Umar was like 21 in that fight against Kakramanov. So like both of those guys. Dude, it was
like 21 versus 21. It was like 2 ultra prospects. Exactly. One of these guys is going to be legit, and the other guy's probably going to be pretty good himself. And it comes down to the third round. Who's the prospect that's going to take the step forward? And Umar has a great third round. It's like this guy makes the adjustments. He's solid. Since then, he smashed everybody, comes to the UFC, and it's much of the same. Sergey Morozov is dangerous in his own ways, and he could get nothing going against him. Like Umar would just touch him up standing, boom, head kick, right to a takedown, or he'd go, like even when they'd scramble back up, he'd go right hand to a head kick, right back to a takedown. Like he's just on you. And of course he's got this Russian pace. He just keeps going and going and going and going, breaks you down. So I know that there's been a lot of discussion. I don't want to talk politics, but I know there's been a lot of discussion where Brian Kelleher is saying he's going to come out with the Ukrainian flag. And people are saying, oh, that's stupid because it's not like Umar did anything wrong. It's just, why are you playing on political tension? It's a fight. This guy's done nothing. Just go there and get the fight done. But it's a brilliant move on Kelleher's part because he's going to get, I don't know if you have to bleep this one out. He's going to get shit kicked, right? And so his best path, he is going to get beat up here. So his absolute best path is to piss this guy off, get him emotional, and snag up that guillotine you were talking about. Because he does have a good guillotine, and that's his only path to victory. If it stays standing, he's going to get boxed up. Outside of that, he's in trouble. Kelleher's low-key done a pretty good job his last 2 fights of cashing tickets, but Domingo Pilarte, he just spammed takedowns and sat in his guard and held him down. That was it. And against Kevin Kroon, he spammed a few takedowns, sat in his guard, and just held him down. Against Umar, not an option. It's not on the table. You're not just going to take this guy down and hold him down. So what's the plan B? The plan B is you're going to have to strike with him. That's honestly not going to go your way. Kelleher can box. He's got decent boxing. Got a decent counter left. But unless it's MMA, unless you catch this guy clean on the button with a counter, like chances are he's going to march through your best shots. And he's not a let's trade punches for punch. He's a I'm going to blitz you with 2-3 strikes and then close the pocket and grab a hold of you and rip you to the ground and beat the crap out of you. So how do you deal with this? He's a 7-1 favorite. We all understand why. And he's obviously going to be on the top ticket along with Colby Covington. That still doesn't give you a great price. So I might have to squeeze a third guy onto that to give us that even money that we look for on the top ticket. But he's the total package. Brian Kelleher, bless his soul, is taking the fight on short notice. He's a company guy, but the line is accurate. And when it's 7-1, you always say like, oh, it's a little steep. Like it's not. It's not. Pretty accurate.
Cousin Umar is the truth. I think we're going to see it in the next like 2-3 years. Cousin Umar is coming here to take souls. He's going to be really great. All right, we got Tagir Ulanbekov taking on Tim Elliott, minus 255. Tagir plus 205 for Tim Elliott. I am much for a guy who's coming out of Habib's train. I have not been very impressed with what I see from Tagir. One, he's already 30 years old. We're seeing a whole bunch of he's kind of near his peak, especially as a flyweight. And the Nascimento fight, I mean, he's losing positional battles in that fight. Super, super, super dicey. Getting caught in submissions. Gave up 4 takedowns against Bruno Silva. My only question becomes, does Tim, with James Krause in his corner, does Tim Elliott have like the full 3-round cardio? Because that has always been a problem with him. He's not much of a finisher. He can run you down later on in fights. I think it's a dog or pass situation here. If Tagir's not able to take Tim Elliott down, then it probably becomes a competitive, sloppy stand-up affair. If he is, I don't think he's going to be able to finish him. I don't think he's going to be able to submit him when he gets down there. So I'm leaning towards Tim Elliott, but I've learned my lesson. I mean, even in the slightest bit, taking Bobby Green by knockout last week, that I'm not getting in the way of Father's plan right now. Those guys seem to be all firing on all cylinders. Tagir is like the guy I believe in the least from that gym, or whatever you want to call it, from their little training sessions. But I think Tim Elliott's live. What about you?
Tim Elliott is definitely live, and that hurts me to say because I'm not going to bet him. So if he wins, it's going to cost me some money. But yeah, I agree. This is another sticky situation. This is the one Russian you think if there's going to be an apple pie shit on the card, it's going to be Tagir. Not only has he not looked super good in his limited 2-fight UFC run, but it's like Tim Elliott's got a lot of tricks that are not going to go well for this kid, right? First of all, Tim Elliott at his best, pretty good pace, man. His cardio didn't used to be an issue. The older he gets and the more the mileage racks up on his body, like he definitely does appear to be slowing down, but he's a difficult opponent to read. His stand-up is very difficult to time. Tagir's stand-up's not all that good either. He's the longer guy. He likes to stay to the outside. He's got okay technique, but Tim's a poor man's Dominic Cruz on meth. Like, he just moves around so quirky and throws shots up the middle that you never see coming. Whereas you think you've got a good read on it, you don't. And then I was starting to write him off a little bit. He's winning fights, but Ryan Benoit, really low level. Benoit did take him down. Jordan Espinoza fight, former training partners. Jordan Espinoza, very low level. Before that, it's a 3-fight losing streak against premier upper echelon guys. But you see where Tim's at. Tim loses to very good guys. Tim beats frauds, right? It's the Nicolae fight. Nicolae is legit, and he is going to defeat Tim Elliott. And I put a bunch of money on Nicolae, and what a sweat, man. Tim Elliott wins the first round. He outstrikes him. In fact, he outstruck him 24-19. He threw 62 strikes in the first round. Like, holy crap. He's moving well. He's landing well. He's doing an excellent job. The second round, he starts to work his way back into it, does Nicolae. He starts to find the range. He starts to hit Tim with the bigger shots. Tim starts to slow. Tim becomes a lot more predictable, and Tim loses the second round. Close, but he loses it. Now, going into the third round, James Krause straight up tells him, you're up too. And when that happens, he comes out lethargic for the third, and Nicolae shoots a takedown. First time he decided to shoot a takedown. Gets it, and Tim just lied on his back for 5 minutes. He just tried to like put him into a neutral position. If that's what he's going to get, Tagir's going to be a serious problem for him because Tagir's shooting takedowns the entire time. Unlike Makhachev, when he gets you down, he doesn't have the same strength to hold you down. Unlike Khabib, when he secures the takedown, there's just not this mauling afterwards. The kid's got beautiful wrestling. He just doesn't have great top control. Yeah. So if he takes Tim Elliott down over and over again, Tim can keep up the pace and keep getting back up. Tim's going to outstrike him. He'll have the volume. He'll have a few submission attempts here and there. He's going to have some wild scrambles. Tim is an absolute problem. If Tagir can just rinse and repeat, not get tired, I think we're pretty good. And the reason why I'm not going to pull the trigger on the underdog selection there is when you look at Tagir's, let's say the Bruno Silva fight, right? So he does get taken down 4 times, but late in that fight, it's close. It's a who wants this more. Tagir goes out and he gets that late takedown, solidifies the job for him. UFC debut, tough opponent. People always used to say Bruno Silva's no good because he was 0-3 in the UFC, but guys trains with Henry Cejudo on the daily. He's pretty good. The Alan Nascimento fight is super interesting. It's a split decision win, but Tagir gets the takedowns when he wants them. It's this Nascimento guy has got an active guard. Like, holy crap. He throws up a lot of submission attempts. Armbar, omoplata, trying to set up the triangle, fish for the leg, back to an armbar, back to a switch to an omoplata. One judge clearly thought submission attempts were enough and gave the fight to him. But Tagir, he defends everything, and he ends up on top, and his cardio looked better in that fight, I thought. You probably want to stay away from this one, but I'm sure I've said that a number of fights on this card. So at some point, our sack's going to have to drop, and we're going to have to commit to a few of them, and I am going to go Tagir, but I'm fully expecting a dicier fight than the line suggests.
Yeah, my only... I had originally, in my notes here, I had written, Tagir by submission plus 300. That's... If I was going to bet that side, that's what I would be interested in. But, my biggest problem is that people don't just take down Tim Elliott at will. It just doesn't happen. And he fights good opponents regularly. He's fought everybody that's anybody at 125 pounds. I mean, Demetrius Johnson took him down 5 times. Zach Makovsky, we're going back to 2015. It's a long time ago. Right? So he got taken down there.
Wrestle, took him down. Ben Nguyen, striker, took him down. Brandon Royval, striker, took him down. Ryan Benoit, wrestled in high school, took him down. Yeah, and his last time against Matus, Nicolae, it was just like a spear attack. Listen, he's gonna get taken down. 100% Tim Elliott's going to get taken down. What I'm saying is if he can get taken down, get back up, get in his face, pressure him, and throw strikes, the judges are going to favor that. If he gets taken down and he lies there and he goes to a defensive position, doesn't get back up, it's a Tagir fight. And I'm hoping we get the latter. I'm hoping it's a Tagir fight and he just lies there. But I know you don't want to do another shoey bet, but he's getting taken down at least twice.
No, I'm not.
No less than twice.
I'm not doing a shoey on Tim Elliott in this spot. I'll tell you that much.
Fair enough.
Moving on down, we've got Devontae Smith taking on Ludovic Klein. Ludovic Klein coming in on short notice. This fight is at 155 pounds. Devontae Smith is a minus 155 favorite. Klein can be had for plus 135. I mean, Smith doesn't seem to have much more than maybe 6 minutes of cardio. 6.5 minutes of cardio. Klein, I think he kind of became a busted prospect last time out when he took on
Nate Landwehr, Nate the Train.
Nate the Train. He showed that as the fight goes on, he kind of wears down a little bit. I'm expecting kind of an explosive fight. I'm expecting one of these two guys to get finished early. I already put some money on the under Klein versus Smith, under 1.5 rounds, plus 135, plus 115, which is available right now at DraftKings Sportsbook. I still like that. Ludovic coming on short notice. I know he's at Sanford MMA, but he was at Sanford MMA for his last fight. It seems from looking at his Instagram, he spent all of his time in Slovakia or Czech Republic, or his home base basically for this fight, and got the call, came in on short notice, up a weight class. Yeah, I just think that Devontae Smith is He's a big time problem in the first round. But yeah, it gets really, really. So it's like it's either Devontae Smith early or Ludovic Klein late. But like Klein maybe not having to cut to 145. Maybe that'll help his gas tank a little bit. I don't really love a side either way here. I'll lean towards Devontae Smith, but I do quite like the under. Even though it's only 1.5 rounds, I do quite like the under. I think 50% of the time this fight ends probably in the first round, to be perfectly honest. So that's where my money's at. Where's yours?
Yeah, I don't really think you want a whole lot of exposure here. It could be another dogger pass situation, but again, it's very hard to read where this fight's likely headed. For Ludovic Klein, I'm going to give him. Wow, I mean, you talk about bad cardio for Devontae Smith, like I'm seeing it at a Ludovic Klein. His debut against Shane Young, he knocks him out in the first, which is a trend in a lot of his fights before coming to the UFC, is quick finishes. So he gets one over Shane Young. But the Mike Trizano fight in his second fight out, it looks bad, man. He got backed up the entire time. He was on his back foot the entire time against Trizano. He wasn't counterpunching. He has no volume in the fight, but he lands a takedown at the end of every round. 3 takedowns in total. Not enough. Loses a unanimous decision against Mike Trizano. You didn't like that he was getting backed up like that. That caused me to go good on my boy Nate Landwehr because you're going to have to take a step backwards when you take Nate Landwehr on. All he does is move forward. And Klein's the same thing. Klein looked good in the first round. I thought he looked really good in the first round. But the pressure broke him in the second round. He got tired. In the third round, he's just cooked. Nate's putting a beating on him and ends up choking him out with a Darce choke. Or Darce Hernandez, it doesn't matter. Nate ends up slinking it up. Good stuff there. So, yeah, they're kind of both 1 or 2 round fighters as far as I'm concerned. Devontae Smith is the same thing, against Jamie Mullarkey. I thought he looked awesome early, getting his game going, touching him up, very fluid from the outside. He's a Factory X Muay Thai fighter. They love using that jab. Anthony Smith, got an excellent jab on him as well. I just feel like, this guy's making some decent improvements to his game. Justin Jane's fight prior to that, he puts a real good beating on him. Stuffs all the takedowns, ground game look improved, gets a doctor stoppage out of it. But in the Mullarkey fight, he got tired, man. Like you're saying, maybe just a one-round guy. Here's where I'm going to give him the pass, though. JB Mullarkey's a big guy. Again, I talked about it earlier. He's only he's 6 foot at 155, but he's got a huge back on him. He's a very big, strong guy. When they say not all fighters are treated evenly, Devontae Smith and Ludovic Klein, both lightweights, right? You got a guy who's 5'9" against a guy who's 5'7", whereas you've got the Jamie Mullarkey fight versus Turner. You got a guy that's 6 foot against a guy that's 6'3". That's the upper echelon, those big, strong guys. He clearly struggles with big, strong guys. Those are tiring him out. But at Ludovic Klein's 5'7", stays to the outside, doesn't throw a ton of volume, might have the good enough wrestling to take you down, but if he doesn't, it's going to be a close fight, right? I feel like I like the technique of Devontae Smith more. I feel like there's a little more upside to Ludovic Klein. It's a dogger pass fight. It really is. And for that reason, I'm going to end up taking Ludovic Klein, but very low level, very, very low on my list of things that I want to commit big money to, right? I mean, I don't have the faith there. If you got a different read, totally fine, but it could be dicey either way, I think.
I just hope someone dies early. That's really all.
Yeah, hit that under. Yeah, hit that
under. All right, we got Dustin Jacoby taking on Michael Olashechuk. Mikey O's our guy. Minus 190 Jacoby, plus 160 Olashechuk. I'll let you take this one off. I'll follow up.
Yeah, well, I'm sure I got like OCD, right? So a lot of the times when I tape studies, I'll get fixated on these like one little points, and then the little point just actually doesn't mean anything at all. Here's my like one little fixated point I was on, right? Michael Oleksichuk, right? So his last fight against Shamil Gamzatov, it's just a boxing match, right? He just backs him up, he cooks his body, puts a beating on him. He lands 32 significant strikes, 2 of which he landed 0 kicks, right? Shamil Gamzatov landed 6. He went 6 for 6. That's not the point. But Oleksichuk doesn't throw any kicks. The fight before that against Modestas Bukauskas, he lands 56 strikes, no kicks. But Modestas doesn't kick him either. Jimmy Crute fight, quick finish on the ground. Oven St. Preux fight, he starts off good, 0 kicks, then tires out. Antigulov fight, no kicks. Jean Volante fight, no kicks. Khalil Roundtree once upon a time, no kicks. He's almost exclusively with his boxing. He just moves forward, tries to box you up. But none of his opponents have ever gone in with a game plan of kick him. Shamil went 6 for 6. Somebody else got a few kicks in here and there. but he's never fought a kicker. Dustin Jacoby, meanwhile, it's like a strong staple of his game, dude. I think he landed 34 kicks his last fight against John Allen. His fight against Ion Cutelaba got taken down 9 times, still landed 10 for 10 on his kicks, still kicked him more times than Alexichuk's ever been kicked before. His fight with Max Grishin, another fight where he throws 30 kicks. This is a big cage. And I think if Dustin Jacoby, who is a fine striker, stays to the outside, he's just going to keep chipping away at this kid and just kicking him. But then that's what I say, the OCD, it's a point that it's moot. It doesn't even matter. It's like, okay, well, Prince Michael's got decent boxing and he's ultra aggressive. And Jacoby doesn't fight great off his back foot. So either this kick is going to be the key, stay to the outside and kick, or as he kicks is when Michael's going to come forward and just try to hit him. Southpaw stance, left hand over the top, and just tag him up, back him up. Jacoby said always the tale of two fighters. Does he show up with cardio or does he have no cardio? Lately, he's been showing up with cardio. I'm inclined to lean towards him. Paul, I honestly think this is another dogger pass type fight. The plus 160 on Michael Alexichuk, it's going to be a kickboxing match. Okay, kid's 27. He's getting better. His last couple fights, he's looked like he's made some improvements. It's possible that he backs him up and boxes him. It's possible that Dustin Jacoby's got too much veteran savvy ship and keeps him to the outside and just kicks his leg off. It's all possible. Can't get a strong lean either way. So I'm not gonna say full pass. I'll say dogger pass, and I think I'm gonna take Prince Michael. But
You like Prince Michael?
again, I don't love it, dude. I really don't.
I really don't like it. I don't like Prince Michael at all. I think Dustin Jacoby will
Fair
I think this is a good matchup for him. I think the biggest way to beat Dustin Jacoby will be taking him down, taking him out of his element, doing what Ion Cutelaba was able to do. Darren Stewart was able to take him down 2 times. I think against John, I think the fight against John Allen, I rewatched that. I think that he was fighting quite fine off of his back foot, and he was landing a whole ton of strikes. I just see Michel Olashechek just like running forward, getting picked off, big cage, Jacoby dancing around to the outside, trying to land an absolute heater with his left hand from Mikey O's, and I just think it's a bad matchup for him. And Mikey O, this guy's a middleweight. I think he's very, very, very undersized. Very undersized for 205 pounds. Like he's 6 foot tall, not particularly jacked. I don't mean to body shame him. Trust me, I have nothing to brag about here. But I think Dustin Jacoby absolutely eats his lunch, makes it look pretty easy. Wins maybe a 3-round decision or beats him late. But I don't think Mikey O's got much for him on the feet here, and that's where I expect this fight to take place. Maybe Mikey O can mix in some wrestling that I haven't really seen from him on tape. But I think Jacoby is the rightful favorite here, so I am going to skip the dogger pass. All right, so we should get out of here pretty soon. I'll just say what I'm on right now. I've got Covington and Holland in a parlay at minus 126. Nurmagomedov, cousin Umar, the truth. Kelleher under 2.5 rounds. I jammed a whole bunch at at plus 130. I'll probably add more as the week goes on. Maybe it's because I'm too excited about this being like the next Nurmagomedov that I'm really excited about. But yeah, that's my biggest bet of the night. I've got Klein versus Smith under 1.5 rounds plus 135. Covington round 5 plus 3,000. I'll be adding more things as always at Paul Shag on Twitter. Is where you can find those picks on fight day at some point, whenever I feel like it. Hit him with the PRP, kid.
13 fights, big Vegas atmosphere. Let's get after it. And it's going to be a dogs are barking type weekend, so hopefully we're on the right side. We got Colby Covington, I like. We got Edson Barboza, dog number 1. I don't care for. Kevin Holland, like. Greg Hardy, dog number 2. Don't really care for it. Jamie Mullarkey, I do like dog number 3. We're going to go Marina. I like it. Kennedy, don't mind it. Agapova, don't like it. Umar, love it. Tagir, I'm going to play it. And then I'm going to go Klein and Alexichuk, a couple dogs at the end, and that's going to be the bottom end of the PRP. Like I don't really care too much for it either way. But in total, we're going to go Alexichuk, Klein, Mullarkey, Hardy, and Edson Barboza, 5 underdogs. So we're hoping for 8 favorites, 5 underdogs. Hopefully it's that kind of card. Of course, the PRP would be astronomical because there's so much dog money this week. But the main thing is hit that top ticket. So like you said, you got Colby and Kevin. I like it. I think for myself, it'll end up being Colby, obviously Nurmagomedov, and I mean, likely Kevin Holland, to be honest with you. That second ticket, that's when you're going to, oh man, what do you do? What do you do second ticket? Do you put Bekov? That's a little high for him. Too high to put Jamie. Oh, you definitely
Marina's probably going to be there for you.
Yeah, you're going to go second with Marina Rodriguez. And it's all about who's going to, be with them, right?
It gets
Rafael
dicey, though, yeah.
I like him, but do I love him? Probably not. 5 rounds, I really think that plays towards Rafael. Unless you knock him out, which, by the way, good luck. So, listen, dude, I'm excited. It's a pay-per-view card. I'm in with it. Hopefully we're on the right side. But just when you do really good, this is what happens, right? So last week, UFC, 2 weeks ago, you went 8 for 1 on your props, right? And awesome. Yeah, last week,
not too shabby.
That's 2 weeks ago. The week after that, you do good again, right? It's a winning week. We've
been crushing for like a month now.
Right. Last week we had a Bellator on the Friday and a UFC on the Saturday. So what happens is because you build up a bankroll, it causes you to now make bigger bets. Listen, the most important thing in this game is not necessarily winning picks, although that is very important. It's bankroll management. You got to be smart with your bankroll. So just because you have more money doesn't necessarily mean you're going to bet these spots that you don't necessarily care for.
Yeah, we all make that mistake. We all make that mistake from time to time.
Oh, everybody's been there. You have to lose to learn. There's no shame in losing, but you're going to take valuable lessons. And unless you're complete gambling addict degenerate, you won't learn from the lessons. If you're a responsible person and you're committed to doing this long term, yeah, you figure it out. And the way to figure it out is just be careful with a card like this instead of being like, PRP, oh yeah, I got 5 times more money than I started out with. I'm going to make 5 times bigger bets. Like, don't bet European hockey or women's South Korean handball at 2 a.m.
Who's doing that besides you?
When you make a lot of money, you're just like, what else can I bet on, right? So
I bet on like the Olympic stuff, but it was thanks to Cam and Rob Pizzola and Pat. They put me on a really good track there. Won a whole bunch at the Olympics. But no, I 100% agree with you.
Olympic hockey.
That's why I always look at every single card. I look at every single situation. I try to, at least. I look at it from a mathematical standpoint. It's like, my first question I ask myself is, how often does this result happen in my mind? And of course, sometimes my mind is going to be wrong. But like, what are the implied odds of that's why Cousin Umar, the under 2.5, I think Cousin Umar absolutely smashes. Could the fight go to decision? 100%. It totally could. But I think Cousin Umar is going to show up and show that he's actually like an absolute title challenger. So when I got a plus 130 for the under 2.5 rounds, I went in pretty heavy. Yeah, I look at every single fight from like a mathematical standpoint. That's what gets me out of trouble. And that's why there's an inconsistency. I don't look at a card and be like, oh, I need 5 bets for this card just because this card exists. No, I'm always looking for things that I think I have an edge on. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Last month, it's been pretty good. But we know this game. It's like just because everything's working out right now, it can turn real fast. We're betting on people stripping down to their underwear and fighting for money inside of a cage in front of thousands of people. Shit's gonna happen. Oh, I think you were gonna have to mute that one. Anyway, any final thoughts there, Cody?
No, dude, that's about it. Let the good times roll. Everyone's been pretty good. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't really know what to expect. I felt pretty okay the last couple cards. This one, there's just that eerie feeling that it's like your hot streak's always going to end eventually. But that being said, I've had those feelings before, and you just hit lightning in a bottle. Wellington Turman's getting his ass kicked and snatches up an armbar from the depths of hell, and we have this crazy Armenian bastard, face shattered, blood everywhere, nose split, still rallies back from the dead and fights on. Like, those are good bounces, Paul. You got good bounces. Don't always go get those bounces. So all we can do is pray to the MMA gods that they deliver us another fine offering. Until then, I'll be looking forward, my friend.
All right, and that is it for us this week. Hope you enjoyed the show. For producer Pat, who is the hitter of the Shayna Dobson like plus 900 ticket, and Cody Saftic. I'm Paul Shaughnessy saying goodbye and good luck.
Oh.